What is up, guys? It is Mikey McNuggets. Sometimes we tape these on a Saturday and then air them on Sunday. Today, it's the real deal. It's your favorite insomniac producer who just happens to be up early in the morning and figure out hop on one last time, do a final preview, give you all some predictions and maybe some gambling. Maybe a little gambling advice for today's game between the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, it is 8:01. It is 8:01. We are 5 hours away from kickoff in what, to this point, is by far, hands down, unquestionably, the single most important Browns game of the season. Now, it's only week 10, and it'll change. What's up, Isaiah? What's up, Jarrell? Appreciate y'all tapping in with me this morning. But to this point of the season, we are about to see the Browns play, without a question, the most important game of the season. And in the NFL, there are no excuses. And I just want to get that out here before we get into the preview, the predictions, and the gambling stuff. There are no excuses. Yes, the Browns are banged up. They don't have their two starting right tackles. However, they're still an NFL team. And whatever happens in this game, we are going to evaluate what we see through the lens of, if you want to win at the highest level in the NFL, you have to be able to overcome adversity. And yeah, the Browns may be down a couple guys, but so is every team in the league. So I just want to get that out here clearly. If the Browns do not win today, and I'll give you my pick at the end, or if you watched the show on Friday, you saw my pick. If the Browns do not win, I don't want to hear, well, my tackles weren't here, it doesn't matter. As long as your quarterback's healthy, and Deshaun looked really good in the second half against Arizona last week, and I expect him to take another step forward this week, then the rest of it doesn't matter. So I just want to get that out on the record before we get into this preview and prediction. I appreciate everybody. I see there's already over 100 people watching. Shout out to you guys. I thought I was the only insomniac who can't sleep on game days, but it seems like I got some fellow Clevelanders out here who also cannot wait for kickoff here in a couple hours. All right, let's get into the game. I'm going to end. We'll do a little game preview. We'll do some gambling picks, and then I'll give you my final prediction here as we get ready for kickoff. And shout out to Robert Bronson from California. What is it, 5 o'clock in the morning in California, Robert? That is a dedicated and true fan. Shout out to all you guys for real. I see Abbott Fisher, Doug, The Truth Hurts, Alex, MS, MBM. We appreciate y'all. And when you're done with this, by the way, go tune into Earl. He's on the radio station, and he is the only host for the first 2 hours. So make sure you listen to this, and you go check out my boy Earl over on the radio station. I'm not going to give him any free pub, so I won't say the numbers of the station. But you guys know where Earl's at. All right, for the game, let's start with this. Deshaun versus Lamar, because it is a quarterback star-studded affair. And we've said it throughout the week. Nothing I'm going to say is really different than what we've said all week, but it's just a reiteration of a point. The Browns traded for Deshaun Watson for games like this. You have an elite quarterback to be able to go toe-to-toe with other elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And Deshaun Watson was an elite quarterback. And Deshaun Watson is working his way to being an elite quarterback again. And that second half for Arizona, I went back and I've watched the film twice now. The all-22 from the sideline and the end zone. And some of those throws Deshaun made against the Cardinals, my goodness, reminiscent of his days in Houston. Something Cleveland has not seen since the Browns returned in 99. I'm talking throws of the highest difficulty and degree, placed on an absolute dime into a bucket where nobody but his receiver could catch them. That's what you traded for Deshaun for. Picks, money be damned. You get an elite quarterback to be able to go toe-to-toe and to be able to erase other flaws on your team. Lamar has made the Ravens, and I like Lamar, by the way, for the record. I'm a Lamar fan too. But they haven't had receivers in his entire career? When's the last real receiver they've had? But because he's Lamar Jackson, he makes it work. Their running back room goes through guys like the Browns' offensive line has this year. Injuries galore. I mean, J.K. Dobbins started the season as their running back. He's out. Keaton Mitchell ran for 139 yards. He was an undrafted rookie last year. Undrafted rookie this year. Destroyed Seattle. He's on the injury report. It happens. It happens. But when you have an elite quarterback, all the other warts kind of go away. You can have – I don't even want to say that's a bad example. An elite quarterback makes everything else work. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have weapons. Chiefs are fine. When he had weapons, they had no offensive line. They were still fine. What matters is Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson. Now, yeah, it's going to be a struggle without the two offensive tackles. Like, let's not overlook the fact that you are going from Jed Wills and DeJuan Jones. And listen, Jed Wills, for as much as we said about Jed Wills, have been playing much, much, much better the last couple of weeks. And DeJuan Jones is a fourth-round rookie. Oh, my goodness gracious, that dude can play. He's still a work in progress, but already what we've seen from from DeJuan, has far exceeded anyone's expectations for a fourth-round rookie who got thrust into a starting role when Jack Conklin got hurt. So you go from those two, and we have not gotten official word yet what the Browns' offensive line will look like, but I'm going to assume, or at least this is what I expect, I think we're going to see James Hudson at right tackle. I think we're going to see Jerron Christian at left tackle. And we'll leave Bitonio at left guard. Now, maybe there were some reports that maybe they would slide Bitonio to the left tackle spot, and then you put Nick Harris at left guard and James Hudson at right tackle. No matter how you slice, dice, break it down, the reality is without DeJuan Jones and Jed Wills, the Browns' offensive line gets significantly worse. But I'll keep going back to this. That's why you get Deshaun Watson. That's why you trade assets for an elite quarterback. Because when you have a guy like that, he can overcome issues. The whole point with Baker Mayfield was it had to be perfect for Baker Mayfield to succeed, right? Isn't that what we all said? If it's not perfect around Baker, he's kind of just a dude. He's just a guy. So you go out and get Deshaun so you can win when it's not perfect. And that is the point of today. The Ravens are a damn good football team. The Browns are a damn good football team. And to beat the Ravens, so if the Browns are going to beat the Ravens, they're going to have to overcome adversity. It was never going to be easy. And yeah, it's definitely harder without Wills and DeJuan Jones. But I will go back to this, and I cannot emphasize it enough. I cannot emphasize it enough. This is why you trade for Deshaun Watson. Point blank, period. If Baker Mayfield was a quarterback today, if 20 other NFL starting quarterbacks today were in Cleveland's situation, I would feel terrible about today's game. Baltimore's that good. But if you got Deshaun Watson, and the Deshaun Watson we saw against Arizona, at least in the second half, and takes another step forward, I'm not scared. Like, yeah, it's going to be tough. And I'm not sleeping on Baltimore, but do you see what I'm saying? I hope this is making sense. Deshaun Watson got paid all that money to make throws in the fourth quarter when his team's down 7, and he has to lead them on a comeback. You get these guys because they erase everything else. That's the point of an elite quarterback, is not everything has to be perfect, and they can succeed in chaos. And I think Deshaun's elite. He was, unquestionably, in Houston, and I think he'll get back there. So as a Browns fan, this is a feeling that I'm going to imagine that you guys haven't ever felt since the team returned in 99. I'm serious. This may be the first time since the team returned in 99 where you've gone into a game with a battered roster, injured against a good team, but you got a quarterback you could look in the eye and say, well, shit, we got that guy. We'll be all right. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. All right, some of the other some other topics here. This is the number 1 defense versus the number 2 defense in the league. I'm not even going to put names for the teams because I think you can go either way on which defense has technically been statistically better through the first 9 weeks of the season. It's going to be a low-scoring game. The over-under right now, I looked a few minutes ago. Let me check again. But the Ravens are currently favored by 6.5 points, and the over-under is at 38.5. If you're in the chat, give me a 1 in the chat if you think the game will go over 38.5. Give me a 2 if you think it goes under. I think that's about a perfect number, but I'm curious what you guys think. Give me a 1 if you think it goes over 38.5. Give me a 2 if you think it goes under 38.5. These defenses are damn good. Both of them. They're fast. They're aggressive. They're physical. They both get after the quarterback. I mean, we're talking about the team that leads the NFL in sacks in Baltimore. We're talking about a team that leads the NFL in sack rate in Cleveland. So you tell me which one you like better. You like the overall sacks or you like the sack percentage? The Ravens have played an extra game. That's why I prefer sack percentage, but you get my point. These two teams get after the quarterback. They have playmakers on the back end. Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson, Grant Delpit, Greg Newsome. I mean, they're some phenomenal DBs on the Browns. Then on the other side, you got Humphrey. Geno Stone has 6 interceptions this season. 6. By himself, 6. The Browns have 7 as a team. I mean, if you were just picking a fantasy draft, the best players on these two defenses, I mean, you might create an all-pro defense that might never give a point. It's unbelievable. And we did a top 10 draft on Friday, and I was so disappointed in my guys. I'm going to pull the curtain back for you guys. I truly believe that Jay, Bull, G, Jason, when I give them an assignment, they do their research. For the most part. Sometimes they blow it off. But I think for the most part, they get their research. They do their research. And they all miss Justin Madubuike. And I'm a little biased. He's an Aggie. I covered him when I was at A&M. But he's got a sack in 6 straight games. He leads the NFL in sacks in the defensive tackle position. And I love Dalvin Tomlinson. That's my dog. Like that's my dude. I met Dalvin a couple of times. He's awesome. And he's, by the way, Dalvin could not be a funnier person. And when someone's funny, and he actually kind of has a higher pitched voice than you would expect for someone his size. And when he laughs, it's kind of like a lighthearted giggle. And when you see someone who's 340 pounds, like lighthearted giggle, it's impossible not to smile. So he's awesome. Like Dalvin's awesome. But like right now, Justin Madubuike is the best defensive tackle in this game. And that's a bad job out of Bull, J, and G for missing that on Friday when we did our top 10 draft. But we had there was so much controversy. Or not controversy, but so much back and forth between the guys on who the 10 best players in this game were. We had 5 Browns, 5 Ravens. It's a dead even split. Dead even split. And that's even without the offensive line, without the guys on the offensive line for the Browns who we've taken out of the equation. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, guys. I think it's low-scoring. I really do. 38.5 is the over-under. I saw some 1s. I saw some 2s. I appreciate everyone who answered. Like I said, if you give me a 1, that means you like the over in this game. If you give me a 2, you like the under. My gut says 38.5 is low, but I think the Browns, even with Deshaun, are going to struggle to score, even if they had their tackles. Without their tackles, they're going to have to run the ball a lot. I don't love Jerome Ford. I hope it's a big Kareem Hunt game. For the Ravens, good luck running against the Browns. Like, good luck. It ain't easy. It's tough treading down there. So my gut tells me I'm leaning towards the under. But I think Vegas did a really good job setting that line. One more matchup to watch, and then we're going to get into some individual player props for this game, and I'll give you my prediction. The Browns receivers, they're without David Bell. They're without Marquise Goodwin. Both out. Goodwin's dealing with a concussion. I'm not sure what Bell – that's a bad job out of me, guy. What is Bell dealing with? If you guys know in the chat, let me know in the chat what injury is David Bell dealing with. I know he's not playing today. The Browns called up Austin Watkins Jr., their preseason hero. He's on the active roster today for the first time this season. But Cedric Tillman will be wide receiver 3. You got, obviously, Elijah Moore, and you have Amari Cooper. I think this is the Elijah Moore game, guys. I gave you the stat on Friday. If you missed the 5-pack of McNuggets stats, it's on the YouTube page. Go check it out. But no team in the NFL is better at defending passes when the opposing quarterback has time in the pocket than the Ravens. They have a minus 141 EPA when the opposing quarterback does not throw the ball in under 2.5 seconds. To put that into context, because I know analytics isn't for everybody, the Ravens are minus 141. The next best defense in that category is the Jaguars at minus 76. They're almost double the next best defense in the league at that part. Okay, that's not an injury update. If you know what David Bell suffered injury-wise, just let me know. Because I definitely knee. James Forthright says knee. I appreciate it. Avett Fisher, James. He's dealing with a knee injury. I appreciate that, guys. That's a bad job out of me. So Tillman's your 3rd receiver. Watkins is your 4th receiver. You got Njoku, obviously, who is in line for a big game. But one thing the Ravens do really well, if you go back and watch the tape, they follow the Belichick model of taking the other team's best option out. They will double, they'll triple, they'll send bracket coverage, kind of shade the coverage to a certain side to make sure you can't just feed your guy. And I think that'll be the case with Amari Cooper today, and Njoku on 3rd down in particular. I think this is the Elijah Moore game. We've been asking for God knows how long for Elijah Moore to do something. Like, this dude was hyped up as the second coming of Jesus Christ all offseason, and his performance in camp from the videos we saw, my goodness. He looked like he was the best receiver on the team. And we go to the regular season. Yeah, it's not all his fault because the quarterback play has been horrendous for the Browns. But you guys, he has not lived up to our expectations. My own personal expectations, and I know your guys' expectations, because we all had Elijah Moore going over 1,000 yards or close to it, and he's not on pace to get anywhere near that. So one thing to watch is who will be the separating factor for the Browns offense. I think it'll be Elijah Moore. I think the Ravens are going to double coverage, double team, bracket, shade safety help towards Amari Cooper on every, not imminent, but like every obvious passing situation. He's going to head over to Amari Cooper. David Njoku, I think, is going to be spot shadowed by either Roquan Smith or Patrick Queen, two of the best linebackers in football. It's going to have to be somebody else. Somebody else has to make a play today if the Browns are going to beat Baltimore. I'm telling y'all that right now. Somebody has to make a play in order for the Browns to beat Baltimore, not named Amari Cooper and David Njoku. Whether it's Tillman, Moore, one of the other receivers, maybe it's a Harrison Bryant game. I don't know. But someone in the passing game has to step up and is going to have to make a crucial third down catch, red zone catch, something that we have yet to see from this group in order for the Browns to beat Baltimore. Nick, I see your question. I don't know his overall record going against teams for a second time, but to be completely honest, I don't think you could even really count the first game as a negative against Schwartz. I know they gave up 28 points, but the Ravens scored their first touchdown on a short field after a DTR interception. There was a fumble. The game was over so quickly because you saw how inept DTR was in that situation. Not his fault, by the way. Not his fault. Like, he got thrown into the worst situation in the world. That is one of the games, one of the very few games I will give an excuse to. As I said earlier, no excuses in the NFL. When you have Deshaun Watson, you have a chance to win every game. Well, when you have DTR, yeah, your defense, if it's not perfect, you have no chance to win. And he was not perfect, far from that. So you have Watson today. You have this defense. Someone else, maybe Watkins, who knows? But somebody outside of Cooper and Njoku has to make a big-time catch. Let's look at some of the over-unders for player props, and then we will wrap up with a prediction. So let's get into it. According to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com/UCSS. If you're gambling today and you win on FanDuel, send me the ticket. We'll showcase you on the show this week. Over under 189 yards in the air for Deshaun Watson. Over under at 189 yards. I'm taking the over, and here's why. If they are down, garbage time yards count. And I think there might be a situation where late in the second half, they got to get the ball downfield. It's a low number. I do think Deshaun goes over 189. Lamar over 201. I think Lamar's under. I'd actually take Lamar's under, and I take Lamar's over rushing yards, which, by the way, is 40.5. I'd go under on passing at 201 for Lamar, over on rushing for 40.1 or 40.5 for Lamar Jackson. I take the over on Deshaun Watson passing yards at 189. This one's interesting. Over under 0.5 touchdown passes for Deshaun Watson. I think he throws a touchdown. It's minus 215, so the odds aren't great. But I think Deshaun throws a touchdown. Absolutely. He threw 2 against Arizona. Arizona is not Baltimore. Like, don't get me wrong. Arizona is not Baltimore. Completely different. We're going from the worst team in football to maybe the best team in football. But over under 1 touchdown, yeah, I like that. And Lamar over under at 1.5. I like the under. Once again, I think it's going to be tough. And in the red zone, that's where Lamar uses his legs more than anywhere else in the field. And that's where I think he's the most dangerous. So I would go over 1 touchdown for Lamar, for Deshaun Watson, under 1.5 for Lamar Jackson. And for the rushing yards, it's funny. Jerome Ford over under 38.5. Kareem Hunt over under 27.5. I think just based on the amount of carries he'll get, Jerome will go over 38.5, but I don't like any of those. I would not put any money on that. As far as receiving yards go, guys, this is painful to read. I'm going to do it. But So Amari's over under 56.5 yards. That is the lowest over under receiving yards for a number one receiver in the NFL this week. Over 56.5. I like the over. I just think he's Deshaun's number one target every time. That's my over. Here's where it gets ugly. Elijah Moore over under 30 yards. I told y'all this is the Elijah Moore game, in my opinion. I think he goes over, but I don't like betting on Elijah Moore. That guy's so inconsistent. And just he doesn't get enough. I don't want to say he doesn't get enough targets. I just want to say he hasn't done enough with them. So, all right, I wouldn't bet that. Njoku over 32. I like the over. Jerome Ford over under 14.5. I like the under there. Mark Andrews, by the way, has killed the Browns in the past. His over under for receptions, 4.5. I like the over 4.5 receptions for Mark Andrews. Lamar has been awesome under pressure this year. Go back and check the 5 stats I did. When he's under pressure this season, Lamar's been phenomenal. And his number one target under pressure, Mark Andrews. No team in the league creates pressure on a more consistent basis than the Cleveland Browns. I like the over 4.5 catches for Mark Andrews. I also like over 4.5 catches for Amari Cooper. And I love over 3.5 catches for Elijah Moore. Once again, I don't like the yards for Elijah Moore. I love the over 3.5 catches. I think they get the ball out awfully quick. And last but not least, which prop do I like the most? I'll give you one player prop just for fun. How about this? First touchdown scorer. Well, that's tough. What do y'all here? I'm gonna ask this. I'm gonna give you 2 options. Give me a 1 for the first option, a 2 for the second option. I'll throw some money on it. We'll either have, I'll give you 1 Brown and 1 Raven. I like Zay Flowers at 10-1 or Njoku at 17-1. Give me a 1 in the chat if you like Njoku, first touchdown scorer, 17-1. Or Zay Flowers, first touchdown scorer, 10-1. Give me a 2 for that. So 1 for Njoku, first touchdown scorer, 2 for Zay Flowers, 10-1, first touchdown scorer. All right, we've been doing this for 20 minutes. Time to give you guys my official pick. So on Friday, we do headlines just like we do every Friday, and I picked the Browns. I said it's ratbird hunting season. A little playoff Elmer Fudd, and it's rabbit hunting season. And then we find out the Browns have lost both their tackles. We knew Jed Wills was out. We did not know at that time for sure that DeJuan Jones would not play. I've slept on this. I went back and forth. Yesterday morning, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the Ravens now. But I woke up this morning with clarity. And I said this earlier, I'll say it again. The Browns traded for Deshaun Watson for this kind of game. Point blank period, simple. This is exactly the game, an AFC North division rival. A little bit of controversy is not right, but a little bit of chaos, a little bit of drama on the offensive line. They got 2 starters out. You're playing a team on the road who was absolutely mollywopped 2 really good teams in the last 3 weeks. They beat the absolute dog crap out of Detroit, and they beat the piss out of Seattle. And I'm not overlooking Baltimore at all. That team is phenomenal. But I'm still picking the Browns. And here's why. Deshaun Watson has heard, and he admitted he hears, everything we have said. And I say we, I mean Cleveland in general. About how, up to this point, he has not been the guy they thought they were trading for. And it's not all his fault. He was rusty last year. He didn't play for a year and a half. I thought he'd be better, but he just wasn't good last year. Comes back this year, finally has a good game against Tennessee, gets hurt. Comes back against Indianapolis, catastrophe. Takes 2 more weeks off. Comes back against Arizona, struggles in the first half, builds on that in the second half. And I think today is the day we see Deshaun Watson play like Deshaun Watson. Play like the quarterback that Cleveland made the highest paid player in football. That Cleveland traded 3 first-round draft picks for. I don't care about the compensation they traded. I really don't. It's not my money. Draft picks be damned, whatever. Like, it's a lot. An elite quarterback's worth that and 10 times more. And I think today's the day we see Deshaun Watson reestablish himself as an elite big-time quarterback. Any given Sunday, guys. Any given Sunday. The Browns weren't supposed to beat San Francisco. They did. They did it. The Steelers weren't supposed to beat the Browns early in the season. They did. It happens. Any team can beat any team. The Giants are 17-point underdogs today in Dallas. They have no chance of beating Dallas. But would it completely shock me if they did? Yeah, it would actually, because they're an absolute atrocity. But you guys get my point. Any given Sunday. And you trade for Deshaun Watson for these kind of games. And I'm not giving him an excuse because he's missing 2 tackles. These are the games you get Deshaun for. These are the games I expect Deshaun to play his best. And last but not least, you go back to his days at Clemson. I'm talking about Deshaun here. You go back to his days at Clemson. In the biggest moments, this is when this guy played his best. College football playoff games, national championships, ACC championships, games to put his team in line to play for the biggest prizes in the sport. That's when Deshaun was at his best. And call me crazy, sure. Call me optimistic, sure. Call me unconventional, sure. Stupid, I don't care. My gut tells me today's the day Deshaun Watson does that on the NFL level for the Cleveland Browns. We have yet to see it, and I think it happens today. Final score, give me Cleveland 17, Baltimore 13. I'm taking the under. I'm taking Cleveland, and I can't wait to get back on here for the post-game show and hopefully celebrate a flawless prediction by your boy Mikey McNuggets. I appreciate everyone who tuned in this morning. It is early. Y'all are up. I'm ready. I wish the kickoff was in 4 minutes, not 4 hours, but let's be patient. Let's have some fun. Enjoy the day. And I'll see you at the post-game show, hopefully celebrating a Browns victory over the Ravens. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll see you in a couple hours. Peace.